Revolution.
People before profit.
My name is Steve Zeltzer with Workweek Radio in San Francisco, and I've been covering for many years the situation of Hunters Point, the toxic radioactive waste dump in Hunters Point, how it's affected residents and workers, and also the effort to build an e-commerce building in Bayview, the Gateway project. And this project will bring in 6,000 trucks a day into the Bayview. And what is happening in San Francisco is basically the billionaires have taken over the city. And what should be oversight, these agencies, Planning Commission and others, should be doing investigation of the effect, environmental effect of the building of this warehouse. So it's going to bring in, as I said, 6,000 trucks a day. It's going to pollute Bayview. Now, what's behind this effort of the owner of Prologis, Hamid Moghadam, who's a billionaire and a friend and collaborator of Mayor Lurie, is that they want to build an Amazon warehouse in San Francisco. And Amazon bought a square block near the railroad station on 7th Street to build an Amazon warehouse. However, the Board of Supervisors said that they had to have conditions. It was conditional use, which meant that they couldn't use it as a delivery to homes in San Francisco unless some conditions were met. And what the conditions was that the workers would be able to get a card check and be able to have a union. The workers in Amazon, which is presently on Tolan Street, have voted to join the Teamsters Union, which they had a Democratic vote. They voted that they wanted to be represented by the Teamsters Union. So Amazon, Jeff Bezos, another techno-fascist billionaire who runs the world, is denying them, is preventing them from having a union. And we're saying that's union busting. So what happened is that Prologis, which is located here, this is the world headquarters of Prologis. It's known as the Amazon's landlord. That's what Prologis is known. It builds warehouses for Amazon, not just in the United States, but all over the world. So what happened is Prologis has this project called Gateway Project, which is going to bring in 6,000 trucks a day into the Bayview. And we believe that this is an attack on the people of the Bayview because it's going to further pollute the Bayview. Why don't they build it in Pacific Heights? Why don't they build it in a rich district in San Francisco? No, they build it in a poor working class neighborhood. That's where they're building this. It's a black, white, brown neighborhood. So we feel that this is an attack, a racist attack on the people, the working people, the residents of Bayview, and it's Hunters Point. Now also, what's happening is, come on up. What's happening is there's a campaign to protect the health and safety of people, and we support that campaign. Prologis says that they don't really care if 6,000 trucks come into the in the Bayview. Why? They don't live in Bayview. The owner of Prologis lives in Pacific Heights. He's not going to see 6,000 trucks a day coming in front of his house. It's only going to affect the people, the residents of that community, and that has a long history of being basically crapped on by the billionaires in San Francisco and the politicians who allowed condos to be built on a radioactive dump site and said that there's no problem there. It's all safe. We, the people of the United States, spent over $1 billion on a remediation in Hunters Point on that shipyard, $1 billion. And what happened? They covered up, they falsified the reports about radiation in Hunters Point.
The Navy did.
The Navy did, but also Tetra Tech. Two managers of Tetra Tech went to prison because they falsified the records. And what happened? Just recently, after the neighborhood people voted to have a settlement, they had a report from the Navy, there's plutonium in the air. Plutonium in the air. Can you imagine that? Plutonium in the air in Hunters Point, Bayview. What does that say to the people, the residents of Hunters Point, Bayview? They've been sick, thousands have been sick, and also Treasure Island. Thousands have been sickened by the radiation, the contamination of these former military bases, and they've discovered plutonium in the air. This is an outrage. And the fact of the matter is the people, the residents and workers of Hunters Point, Bayview should be entitled to health care. They should be entitled to housing. They need to be compensated for the terrible conditions that they've lived on for decades and the cover-up that's going on. One of the people that has been fighting. One of the organizations is Everything Bayview. We want to have them come up here and speak. Welcome.
Steve really said some things that I just want to add on to. The fact is, it is the residents that's going to be impacted by the pollution that Prologis brings into the community. And it is the residents that is going to have even more of a less life expectancy in the community from the pollution that Prologis tends to bring in the community. And so I like your sign, because I'm so taken back by our D10 supervisor being the lead on the support on the board of supervisors for this project, as well as Daniel Lurie, our new mayor, one going in and one coming out. And so this is my advice. If they want to help the economy in the community, you don't need to build and develop another polluted site in the community. Why don't you provide livable wages in the existing workforce development? Why don't you provide higher education for students in the Bayview Hunters Point? Why don't you build bridges for the short-time gigs to be long-term careers? And why don't you provide health education so folks can know exactly what they're surrounded by? Bayview Hunters Point is surrounded by some of the largest standing and mobile sources of pollution. And so again, we're here in this beautiful Pier 1. It's a port. Why don't they build here, not our community? You know, they're surrounding us and boxing us in with pollution. A lot of the residents are discouraged because we have someone that we put in office leading the support of this industrial complex. And so as it goes through the Board of Supervisors, we will hold the city accountable for not acknowledging the concerns of the residents. I can also speak on the unions, as they brought the unions to kind of outweigh our opinion and our concerns. But as a resident of Bayview Hunters Point my whole entire life, I like to ask, where do those union workers reside? Because folks in my community don't even have the luxury and the access to join a union. And so as we were outweighed and outnumbered by these folks coming from all over the Bay Area to support their union on behalf of our D10 supervisor and our new mayor, again, we're going to hold them accountable for not acknowledging the health of the residents that actually live there. And so the fight continues. We're here, we're not giving up. We are here on the behalf of residents that are discouraged, that do feel the impacts of systemic racism every day. And this is no short of it. Used by our own, but what it reminds you of, the Willie Brown days, right? So that's what they do. They use our own folks, right? And again, let's take it back. Shaman Walton's connection to YCD, well, my connection to YCD goes way past beyond him. I was a child working up under my auntie, Mia Henderson, who was the previous executive director of YCD. And that's when equitable, healthy jobs were provided for the community. We had a construction department, but that wasn't the only, trades weren't the only jobs available. And so I encourage them to look at the existing workforce. And because again, they're using this development as saying that this will help the economy in Bayview Hunters Point. But they can utilize the existing workforce development and improve it and make it equitable and make it accessible. I shouldn't see all my people in security guards and in janitor's uniforms. Let's really utilize the existing workforce that we have so we can have equitable workforce employment from our existing developments. Like I said, we're surrounded by the largest standing sources of pollution. This Prologis development is just going to build on that. We have so many fights. the shipyard, Prologis, Darling, Central, CEMEX, the port, the freeways, gentrification, redlining, living in a health desert, living short of medical care and food access, public transportation. These are the things that need to be developed and worked on if you want a better economy in Bayview Hunters Point. This development is only going to add to the short gigs and add to the systemic racism where folks are going to be laid off, let go, and back on the unemployment line. And let me tell you something about having to go back and forth to the unemployment line. It gets discouraging. It aids to your mental health. And so that's, again, if you go to the Calenviro screen, these are the reasons why we have the highest numbers and mental disabilities. Not only asthma, not only cancer, but neurological diseases. So I urge you to stand with us and say no to Prologis. It has to be people over power. Yeah, I know that a lot of us are discouraged, and I encourage you to be encouraged, because the people will have a say at the end of the day, because we will hold these folks accountable for using their power to strong arm us and insert this polluted site in our community. Thanks.
Rochelle Holmes. I'm having issues with my asthma. As you can see, this week I'm on both of them. One's a rescue inhaler, the other is my regular one. I've been dealing with this all week. Last week we were out there, helping the community. And so as a result of breathing in the toxic air in Bayview, this is what I have to deal with. But it's okay, because you know what? I've made it a mission, regardless of how I'm feeling, to come out here and stand for the people of Bayview. And ultimately, it's going to be for the people of San Francisco, because guess what? We all breathe the same air. I don't understand why people don't get that. Okay, over here, yeah, you're not directly hit like we are, but you are getting the spores. They are getting in your lungs. And eventually, you will see that. So my ploy to you, everyone, Prologis, it would be nice if you stop thinking about your dollars and start thinking about our health. That would be great. We're already dealing with the Navy. We're still dealing with the Navy, the effects of the Navy, the plutonium that came out that they kept hidden for 11 months. This is just, what? So it's almost like we're being punished for what? Just because we live here? Come on, I've been here all my life. I'm 65 years old, never had asthma, never had any kind of respiratory issues, but now, as I've gotten older, it has now caught up to me, because I'm not playing ball and stuff anymore, And so I think that's what it was. I was so active and always on the go, but then once I got older, I slowed down. And so now this is a result of things settling on me, dealing with this asthma and stuff. So, just again, San Francisco. I'm not even just saying Bayview. I'm saying San Francisco. Let's come together. Let's let these people know it's not okay to build Prologis. It's not okay to build another toxic site in San Francisco. You will be affected. You think you won't, but you will. You'll find out. You'll find out if you live long enough. You will find out. The cancer, the asthma, the COPD, all of that. It's gonna, if it doesn't affect you, it may affect one of your family members. I was just talking to one of the ladies from the Department of Health last week who was out there, with us as we were serving the community, giving out turkeys. And she told me her daughter moved to Bayview. And after she moved to Bayview, she came down with asthma. And then ultimately, a month later, she was in the hospital behind it. Come on, people. What is it going to take for you guys to realize? This is costing us our lives. Just think of all the people that have died before me, or before you, I said, just think about it, because, my first interaction with cancer was when I was 15 years old in high school. One of my classmates had it. And what was her crime? She lived in Bayview all of her life. Is that not utterly crazy? This is ridiculous. Come on. Let's wise up, people. San Francisco, wise up. Let's stop letting people have to suffer behind this stuff. Don't sit up here and sign on to Prologis. Let them know it's not okay with you. It's going to take us as a people to stand together to let them know, these billionaires know, that it's not okay to just build in our neighborhoods, because we're suffering. You may live somewhere else in Marin or wherever, but guess what? It's not okay for you to come here and kill us, because that's what you're ultimately doing. Thank you so much.
And the developers that are pushing this Prologis say that they're going to have good union jobs, good jobs, not union, 2,000 jobs in San Francisco at this warehouse. But none of the supervisors asked, and none of the people are asking them, who are these jobs? Who's going to be working at this warehouse? Who's going to be working? And the fact of the matter is, this warehouse is being built for Amazon. That's who they're building this warehouse for. And Amazon is not a good company to work for. The workers in that get injured. They have health problems in Amazon, and they don't have a union. It's not a living job. And Prologis, the owner, he's not providing housing for the workers who are going to come in, so they're going to end up on the road commuting. Now, the Teamsters Union is opposing this Prologis project. They say that this Prologis project, the Gateway project, does not have conditional use, which means Amazon can move where they are presently at Tolan into this Prologis warehouse. That's wrong, and we have to stop it. And we have a retired Teamster, Art Persico, who is also supporting the community and the right to have union jobs and good conditions. Welcome, Art.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. I'm a Teamster, retired, and I'm also an SF Gray Panther. And Michael Lyon and I are here to support the community from the environmental racism that they have suffered from in Bayview Hunters Point for so many years. And it's a shame and a crime, really, that this situation is not only remediated, but piled on by this other industrial polluting project. So I think it's something that we have to stand up against. It's a violation of human rights. Human Rights Day is coming up next week on December 10th. So we should remember that every human being in San Francisco, every San Franciscan deserves to have their human rights, and we should not allow this to go on. Michael, you have something to add?
This is just my opinion. I know there's been a tremendous amount of discouragement and even infighting on about this, and I think I hate to say this, but I think it's the result of trying to work within the system that capitalism leaves us with. You know, it leaves us with the Democratic Party, it leaves us with boards of supervisors, and of course people get discouraged, nothing happens, and it leads to cynicism, and it's just a very bad situation. I think that any kind of fight like this has to be done with the founding assumption that what's really needed is to get rid of capitalism, and that's the final solution, and it's what we need to be working for, and it needs to be the basis of whatever we're doing, whether it's fighting environmental racism, getting schools, getting jobs. Any kind of fight ultimately is about getting rid of capitalism. And I'm an outsider. I lived in Bernal Heights, but now I've moved over in Berkeley. I know this can't happen from the outside. It's got to happen from people within the neighborhood. But just to say, I think this is all about capitalism, and we need to get rid of it. Thank you.
One of the things that is systemic about the racism in Hunters Point Bayview is the treatment of workers. And the Public Utility Commission in San Francisco has promised the black and brown community minorities that they would have an equal right for getting jobs. In fact, when they built the sewage plant, Southeast Sewage Plant, they promised that they would allow black workers to work as stationary engineers. And in fact, what happened at that plant is swastikas hanging noose was put up at that plant to terrorize the black workers. Carmi Johnson was a stationary engineer who was driven out, who was harassed and terrorized the black woman stationary engineer at that plant. And I brought that up at the Labor Council in San Francisco. I brought it up in my union. They didn't want to talk about it. They said, well, we don't know who did it. It doesn't matter who did it. It's unacceptable to have hanging nooses at a facility. And the police said it wasn't illegal. It wasn't illegal. Now, if it had been a swastika, they would have been all over it. Right. But since it was a hanging noose, it's okay. This is San Francisco. And the black and brown community have been discriminated. They're being driven out of jobs. We have to say that not only are the building trades supporting this, Rudy Gonzalez, who's a head of the building trades and in the Teamsters Union, but also the SEIU 1021 is supporting this project. Their own members have been contaminated in Hunters Point Bayview, are suffering because of the radiation and the toxins. So we have to say to the building trades and SEIU and the Labor Council, they should not be supporting this project because it's not going to benefit the working class, the poor, the oppressed in San Francisco. It's not going to help them. What they should be fighting for is decent working class housing, paid for by Prologis, paid for by the billionaires in San Francisco. They can afford housing. They have billions of dollars in profit that they're making, these billionaires, but they can't afford housing for working class people, black and brown people in San Francisco. They also can't afford health care for people. People are suffering. They're cutting off Medicaid. And in California, the richest state in the United States, you have over 200 billionaires. And they can't afford health care for people in California. We need single payer. We need to get the insurance company and the hospitals and the pharmacy out of the running of our health care system. And joining us is Francisco da Costa, who's a longtime fighter in the community around health care, around human rights, and against the cover-up that's going on now at the Public Utility Commission, which Dennis Herrera, another bureaucrat appointed to cover up what's going on at the PUC. That's why he was appointed director. I mean, $400,000, $500,000 a year he makes. At the last meeting, they asked him, do you have something to report? This is the head of the PUC. They asked him, do you have something to report? You know what he said? No report. No report. This is after workers came to the commission and said they'd been discriminated against, they'd been framed up, they'd been retaliated against, they'd been injured. No report. This is the kind of systemic corruption we have in the city and county of San Francisco. So welcome, Francisco.
As the Director of Environmental Justice Advocacy, from 1980 to today, I have documented and I have empirical data about what they're trying to do to San Francisco. Let me say something which is never mentioned while we talk to good people. This land belongs to the Muwakma Ohlone. This land is indigenous land. So don't come up with these fancy ideas about capitalism, because capitalism, as it is understood, has ceased to exist long time ago. Today we have crooks of the highest order who are not educated on issues. We need leaders, good leaders who know the way, show the way, and go the way. In the Bayview, we have sellouts, and the sellouts are the ones who are putting the hurdles in our way. We meet every Wednesday, some elders and others, to review chronologically what happened in the Bayview. We asked this company to provide us with a disposition and development agreement. They could not. to provide us with other types of permits. They could not. So we know they're going to build a huge warehouse, and we forget to mention that if it's connected to Amazon, there will be very few people in that warehouse. There will be a lot of robots. R-O-B-O-T-S. So, can you imagine people coming into our community and not telling us what they're going to do? And that 18 acres actually was the bed of the river, prone to liquefaction. And our mayor, every time this plan came before the planning department or the land use department or even the board of supervisors, favors them. This mayor favors the filthy rich. This mayor is not for the people. This mayor keeps making a statement again and again and again. Why should I help the Bayview? They didn't vote for me. Hey guy, if you are the mayor, you should be the mayor of all the people. So don't be telling us that, somebody didn't vote for you. Maybe they didn't vote for you, and rightly so, because you're not fit to be a mayor. Right. So now, what are we going to do? We have to write. We have to speak. We have the empirical data. We know that this project is not going to go too far. This project is not going to go too far. They're already having problems. But our unions now, sad to say, are not for the people. Recently we had the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission had the audacity to fire 3 workers. One worker worked for 8 years. Nobody wrote him up, no nothing. His son worked for 3 months. Hardworking. And a brother, Adolfo, he would have been here, but he's on the operation table because of an injury. And so, the general manager, Steve Ritchie, William Taham, and Frank Jordan, these managers, they fabricated stories that Joe brought a gun to the workplace. So if he brought a gun to the workplace, where's the police report? No police report. The reason why they do this is they try to find an excuse of, these workers were into violence. That's because they want to get rid of them. This is how they treat the people of the Bayview. Joe's grandfather was the first Samoan doctor. He was also the first Samoan pastor. There are Samoans in the Bayview. There are other nationalities in the Bayview. We know that, but we don't know that. We get people coming from outside. We get workers coming from outside. They come around, take our addresses. I have a business. They take my address, and on my address, they get a job without my permission. And the city looks the other way. There are all sorts of shenanigans happening in our community. And we have to learn. We have to read. We have to ask for the disposition and development agreement. We have to ask for the permits when it's linked to this project. This project is not going anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere. I know that. I ran the Presidio. I know the ins and outs of permitting and building. So, we have very few Bayview representatives here. They have done a good job. Even our elders came to tell us that the Bayview has played an important role in the history of this San Francisco. From the Bayview came the Human Rights Commission. They did it. They went to the various businesses on Venice and had them give opportunities to people of color. The Bayview reduced the height limit of the police chief. The Bayview. And the Bayview has done many other things. But let me say this finally. Good leaders know the way, show the way, and go the way. And as for capitalism, it is dead. Dead. Amen.
That you all are eloquent speakers. I want to say right now that the Muwekma Ohlone own San Francisco. They have been here for hundreds of years. I have been reporting on Treasure Island. The Navy went there and polluted the place with radiation, weapons-grade chemicals, and heavy metals, just like they did at Hunters Point, which is why people are sick and dying in both places. Where was I going with this? It makes me angry that this happens. This is so racist. I wrote an article for the San Francisco Black National newspaper called Gateway from Hell. This gateway is from hell. It will bring, I want you to look at the air, everybody. Look at the sky. Do you see how, take a look. Don't just look back at me, look at the sky. Do you see how gray-blue that is? That is called particulate matter. Those are little pieces of dust floating in the air, and a lot of that comes from the traffic here. When they have Gateway planned in the Bayview, which is already multiply toxic from the Navy, from Islias Creek. Did you know that Islias Creek in the Bayview is a Superfund site? It's a Superfund site. I don't know if a lot of people know that. Good, I'm glad somebody knows that. Who knows that? Francisco? Okay, that's good. People should know that. The shipyard is a Superfund site. Treasure Island is a Superfund site. That means that the Navy poisoned those places, they have to clean them up, and they need a lot of funding to clean those places up. Okay, now back to the air. That's particulate matter up there. The air in San Francisco is already full of that fuel. What's going on? Oh, thank you. Now you can actually hear me. The Bayview is they're going to put Prologis Gateway project in the Bayview, but folks, we share the air. We share the air. They're going to pull, Gateway wants to pull in all these Amazon trucks and all these trucks from all over the country. That's the plan. They're gonna, these trucks are gonna flood in here across the Bay Bridge, across the Golden Gate Bridge, and they're gonna clog the streets. These trucks are gonna come from all over the country. And they're going to go to the Bayview, to the Gateway project, if they get this built. I hope Francisco's right about that. They're going to come through the city. All of that diesel fuel is going to pollute the air. That air is going to be more polluted than it is right now. I agree. Thank you very much. Okay, so it's a siren situation. The air is going to be polluted. Diesel fuel is highly toxic. That's going to be in the air. All these little dust particles are going to be in the air, and they're going to drive through San Francisco. The streets will be congested with these heavy trucks from all over the country. If Prologis and Hamid Moghadam, whose office is up there, if he gets his plan through, and if billionaires like Lurie get this plan through. All these trucks are going to flood in here from all over the country. They're going to congest San Francisco's tiny, narrow streets with semis and big trucks, and diesel fuel is going to come out of there. You talk about, and that's going to, air moves it moves. It's going to be all over San Francisco, and we're all going to breathe it. I don't know if you've been in San Francisco long enough to know that in the 50s, Eisenhower had this great plan to build freeways across the country. And then all these cities across the country got the idea they wanted a bunch of freeways. So, to go along with the times. San Francisco decided to build a bunch of freeways. And do you know this? They had a bunch of freeways running into the small neighborhoods, the neighborhoods in San Francisco. And people, 200,000 people went to Golden Gate Park after 20 years of these freeways and protested they wanted them taken down. And so they did take them down. One of these freeways, the intent was to connect the Bay Bridge with the Golden Gate Bridge. And that freeway ran through the bay and behind this building and connected the Bay Bridge with the Golden Gate Bridge. And it was so high, people couldn't see the bay. This beautiful view of the bay was cut off for 20 years because of all these freeways. They want to do the same thing now. Can you imagine the pollution and the congestion from all the freeways running through San Francisco? That's what they're going to do here if they bring Prologis in here. More congestion, more pollution, and it isn't just going to be in the Bayview, although the Bayview is going to be the epicenter of this gateway from hell. It's going to be the whole city. The whole city of San Francisco is going to be affected. And, somewhere down the road, maybe 200,000 people will get together and protest the Prologis project, the gateway from hell, to get rid of it, because it is going to create hell over this city. And as far as the plutonium from the Bayview, hey, the air, it moves. Plutonium moves. All these radioisotopes move through the air. We're all affected by this. Not just the people in the Bayview who've got it first and worst and are sick and dying there. This gateway from hell, they have not even dug shovels into the earth, and I hope to God that Francisco de Casa is right, that it'll never happen. It should never happen. Thank you for listening to my loud voice.
The billionaires who run San Francisco, Daniel Lurie and the owner of Prologis, don't really want people to know what the effect on the community is going to be. And the supervisors are helping them out. Not one supervisor asked, is Amazon going to be at that warehouse? Not one. Simple question. Is Amazon going to be there? Because we know the people of San Francisco do not want Amazon building a major warehouse in San Francisco. Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, is a union buster. He's a racist. He treats people, black, brown people, like rubbish. When the President of the United States calls people garbage and says they should be thrown out of the country, he's talking about the working people, the immigrants of this country that built this country. He's a fascist, a Nazi. We can't have Nazis in San Francisco. We can't have Nazis in this country who disregard human beings, who don't stand up for human rights and environmental rights. Another important story that has been covered up by the media is what's going on at the animal site of the University of California, which was next to the police training center. They have a site there at the University of California where AFSCME and UPTE members have been sickened because it's right next to a radioactive dump site. And they've covered up. Workers have been trying to get their workers' comp, and they've been fighting the University of California, the regents, denying them. They're getting sick from the dangerous toxins, and they're denying them workers' comp. What is going on? This is how they treat working people in San Francisco. We have to build really a labor party, a workers' party that's going to represent working people. This board of supervisors, the fact that probably most of them will vote for this project knowing that it's going to poison people with 5,000 trucks, that's an outrage. So we have to organize. We have to continue this fight. We're not going away. And Prologis and Daniel Lurie, the mayor, have to be held accountable for actually harming the working people of San Francisco, for causing more harm. And people have had enough for decades and decades. The idea, think about this, the idea of building condos on a radioactive dump site. that they can clean it up. Can you clean up a radioactive dump site that's been used for 70 years? It's insane. Never. They spent $1 billion. Now, if that $1 billion had been spent for the people in Hunters Point Bayview to get decent housing, to get health care, there's a thing called the Stafford Act, which was passed after Love Canal. The Stafford Act says that if you're in a mass casualty site, which is what Hunters Point Bayview is, you're entitled to get health care for the rest of your life, and you're entitled to money to move out of your homes. We need the Stafford Act in San Francisco. We need to get health care for all the people. We don't need a $1,200 settlement that's not going to help anybody. It won't get you to the first step of a doctor. You can't even get into a medical office. We need health care for everyone. Now, there's a campaign for single payer in California and nationally. We have to get rid of the insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies, and we have to have single payer. There's going to be a rally at Harry Bridges Plaza right down the way here on January the 31st. So we want people to come there at noon and talk about the health crisis. People are being denied health care. People are being cut off of Medicaid. Who are these people who are losing their Medicaid? The people in Hunters Point Bayview. That's who it is. They're being cut off, not the people in Pacific Heights with Dan Lurie. His friends have health care. They have everything they need. It's the working people, poor people, black and brown people in San Francisco that need health care. So we invite you January 31st, Harry Bridges Plaza, to fight for single payer, so health care for all. And we want to bring up what's happening in Hunters Point and Bayview. This is an issue for all the people of San Francisco. It's an issue for the people of East Palestine that have been poisoned by the Norfolk Southern derailment. They're still fighting to get out of contaminated homes, to get health care, and they were damaged by that rail line. But the railroads own country, like Prologis owns the White House, and they're able to build here. But we're not going to stop here. We're going to have other actions, and we have to tie it to the other struggles going on in San Francisco. And we have to also fight in our unions to get the unions to take a principled stand. No to this Gateway project. We have to have decent union jobs. We have to have health care. We have to have living conditions that are health and not polluted with 6,000 trucks.